are live. No, not live, but we are on with Ron Partlow, Canadian IFBB Pro, and me and Ron, before the start of this podcast, we're discussing the fact that bodybuilders, whether they be amateurs or pros, don't get any respect for their time and what it takes to get in and out of the gym. And I'll give you guys an example. We're discussing how, you know, if somebody wants you to do something, like, for example, my sister wanted me to pick up my nephew at school or something at 3:00. And I say, well, I train at 3:00. And they're like, you can move your training. It's not really that important. And it's like, people just don't give us, they don't really consider it a job. They're like, well, you're just working out. It's just a thing.
Yeah. They think you could just, if you had to just do it in the morning, it'd be no problem.
Yeah.
Or if you just had to do it at 10:00 at night, you just do it at 10:00 at night.
Yeah. It's no big deal. It's all the same.
It's not like you plan all your meals for the whole day and schedule your naps and then, you know, and everything around it and your mental programming, and you're like a computer at this point.
Yeah. It's like, you don't get that, like, it's a schedule. It's a fucking thing. Like, I have this meal at this time.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, it all comes down to the fact that you've got a bunch of bills and a house to pay for.
Yeah.
And the way you do that is by being good at all the things that make you a bodybuilder. But yet someone else, maybe like you said, your other brother might have a 9-to-5 job, and they don't ask him to move his job.
No, because he's not allowed to leave. And I'm allowed to leave because I'm my own boss. But I don't know, if you were a real estate agent, you'd have to be showing houses. You'd be like, oh, just show that house at a different time. I mean, it's strange because I think to the average person, they don't really understand what me and you were talking about. But these are some of the things I think that I try and get across in this podcast is the bodybuilding life has a lot of things that people never hear about. There are a lot of little things that go with it that can be great, and a lot of little things that go with it that can be really annoying. And this is one of them. It's always been an annoyance for me. It's never really considered a real job. You can move your cardio, you can move your training, you can eat that meal later. It's like none of it is considered really serious until it's time to pay the fucking bills. Then it's considered serious.
Yeah, I also used to make the analogy to people, you know, when, you know, people would ask me about contest prep, or maybe they'd ask your girlfriend about contest prep, and they'd say, you know, like, oh, well, that must be really like hard, you know, for him to be so selfish for 4 months and so this and so that. And I was like, well, what if I was doing a semester of university?
That's right.
Would they think that was selfish and, you know, time selfish and all that stuff, and it was all about them? Or would you be like, oh, hey, that guy's doing a semester of like really intense university right now, let's just let him do his thing?
We just don't have the same, we're not afforded the same courtesies. Like, even if you know, another analogy could easily be, if you're a businessman, right? My brother, for example, owns a few businesses. He's constantly traveling. He's in China, then he's in Europe, and then he's doing all this shit. He's fucking never home. Is that selfish? Right. It's not considered selfish, though, because socially it's an acceptable profession. So
someone else is sending him, or he's got to go. Yeah.
Well, he's got to go. He's got to create the business. Well, it's no different if I got to go to the gym, or I got to go. This is my people don't understand that bodybuilders are their own business. It's like,
you're your own brand.
You're your own fucking brand. So
you're wearing that hostile hat right now, and that hostile hat, it means something.
Yeah,
it does. It's a brand. It means something.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's just like the Rocks brand means something.
Yeah,
you know. Yeah. And you know, when I see hostile on a T-shirt, when I see a kid wearing a hostile shirt, I think, oh, that kid's really fucking hardcore.
Yeah.
that kid watches Fouad train, and then he goes to the gym and he tries to fucking kill himself. I like that kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the reason that brand means that when people see it is because of how you treat your job.
Yeah. So, it's sad to me that sometimes it's lost on the people closest to us, because they don't see this. They don't see me. I'm sitting in my basement. This is my basement office. Okay.
Right.
I'm sitting in my basement office right now with 2 monitors, a camera, and a microphone. This is creating business, but people don't see that part of bodybuilding. All they see is, oh, he posted a video on Instagram today. He must've went to the gym. He posted a meal. So part of the reason I want to do the podcast is this conversation we're having. People don't understand this side of it, how this is helping me make money, even though I might not be making money at the podcast itself.
Yeah.
Going to help indirectly in other ways. So this is why it's important to keep working. So,
and one of the important parts about staying in a routine, like when you're talking about, you know, well, you can move your workout, but when we're in a routine and it's locked down, that's what gets us through those days that we don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Because you can, you could shut your brain off and go on autopilot and just follow the schedule.
Yeah.
And it'll all get done. And there's days where you don't want to do it, but you have to. And if you start being like, I just train whenever I feel like it and all that stuff, like I've never seen a champion bodybuilder who just trained whenever he felt like it.
Yeah, I agree.
That's not how it works.
I agree. It's almost like a fighter. I mean, I know I'm going to get a bunch of people on YouTube who are like, you're not fighters, bro. You guys are work. I understand that. I don't mean that way. I mean,
it's mentality.
We've just trained ourselves to be like, okay, meal, I'm going to get up and do cardio. I have meal 1, I have meal 2, and now it's time to go to the gym again. And then, you know, like there's just this routine that's like,
yeah.
And for me and you, I mean, you've been bodybuilding longer than I have. I've been at it for 20 years, and it's like, it's literally like I could close my eyes and every day is the fucking same. I could be unconscious and I'd just be doing the same thing. I'd still be going to the gym after my second meal. And you're right. That's why I get people that message me and they're like, well, what do you do when you're sad or upset? Or like, I sit home and fucking cry. What do you think I do? I go,
I don't have time to be sad.
No, but I mean,
I know. Yeah. It's just like, I know.
Nothing changes. I just
eat the next meal and I drink another liter of water and I go to the gym
while I'm eating my chicken. That's all. It's like the same
shit. I'm sad between sets. Yeah. Be a little sad between these 2 sets.
Yeah.
And then hopefully by the end of the workout, I'm not so sad. How's that?
Yeah. So listen, why don't you, for those people who don't know Ron Partlow, Ron has probably been through more adversity than most bodybuilders. And the term going through the fire probably relates to Ron more than anybody. So why don't you give people a quick rundown as to why I'm saying that?
Well, I'm a very, very, very stubborn, genetically mediocre bodybuilder who refused to quit, probably to a fault, and managed to finally get my pro card. So yeah, I just was at it a long, long time. And I like to think that I picked the hardest era in Canadian history to try to turn pro, which was 2000 to 2015. I think as far as depth of classes, size of classes, quality of competitor, I'm really proud that I spent, you know, I mean, if you're going to spend 15 years or 16 years at the national level and do 13 shows, I did 13 nationals. 13 nationals.
How many
and every single one of them, I had 2 class wins and finally got my pro card. Okay. And the thing was, I had 8 seconds. So the classes were so good though. Like I remember I was just talking the other day, like 2012. I remember like it was like I think Paulo Almeida was 10th, and Henry Henri Pierre or Ano was like 7th.
Yeah.
And then, you know, like, and you know, I was 2nd and Antoine won, you know, it was but like the classes were really like Paulo was 10th.
Yeah. No,
you know, like a fucking monster. Like, and you just don't, the classes aren't deep like that. You know, 30 guys in the supers, 30 supers at the Canadas, like probably 7 or 8 times of all those shows I did, we had 30 supers.
Yeah.
And just really crazy quality. And, you know, guys that I placed second to were like you and Frank, and me and Ben had a flip flop where I beat him once and then he beat me and got his card. And then Antoine, you know, became a man. And because we all saw Antoine coming, right? He was like that insane kid. You're like, oh fuck. And then I remember the first year Antoine did the supers, he got dead last. Yeah. And it was he
had trouble getting in shape back then.
Yeah, he had trouble getting in shape. And then you know, and then he showed up one year and got 3rd, and everyone's like, oh, Antoine's like good, really good now. And then the next year I competed against him next year and he beat me. So just all these really amazing bodybuilders that I got to compete against, and And, you know, I mean, because, you know, what fun is it if you're like just smoking everybody all the time? And, you know, is it?
Well, I think that could be fun too.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you know, yeah, but it would suck to kind of smoke your way to a pro card and then get that slap in the face.
I'm sure while it's happening, you're probably like, this is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
But also being a guy that took me a few cracks to get the card, and also taking a lot of second places at various pro shows, like it does build a different type of character when you're like,
yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah,
you know, I feel like I have a stubbornness in me that is like just has incredible endurance. Like I just don't see a problem with something taking a long time. If someone's like, oh, it's going to take a long time, I'm like, okay, well, let's start right now.
If it's worth it. Yeah, if it's worth it.
Yeah, you know,
you said something that triggered something in me because I've been thinking this for a long time. So you said something about the best era. Now I know you're talking about the amateurs, but I want to switch gears a bit because I wanted to ask you this, because for those of you that don't know, Ron is like a bodybuilding historian. So he kind of knows everything about everything when it comes to bodybuilding. So I wanted to ask you specifically this: what era do you think is the best in professional bodybuilding?
1992 to 2006.
Wow, that's a different one. 92 to 2006. Okay,
I'll tell you why.
Before I ask you the follow-up question, I know why the 90s, obviously, but why the 2006?
Well, so because that's in 92, we got Dorian turning into Mr. Olympia, and it changed the game. And that was also, if you look at like the quality of competitor, the depth of the competitor in like 90, 91, and then you look at 92 in Helsinki, it was like Kevin Levrone was there.
Yeah.
It was the first show, Kevin Levrone, Dorian winning. That was a tide turner.
Yeah.
And then 2006 saw the defeat of Ronnie Coleman to Jay Cutler and a new era being born there.
Oh, so stretching it.
Kind of the Dorian to Ronnie era to me is where all the depth was.
But do you think the Ronnie era was deep? Because really those shows from 2000 to 2006 wasn't it just Ronnie and Jay?
Yeah, well, it was Ronnie and Jay for the win, but you had Marcus Rule on stage.
Oh, that was amazing.
You had like those.
I mean, Dexter Jackson.
I just remember seeing my first Olympia that I went to was 2002.
Yeah.
So I saw like Levrone do his second place to Ronnie there, and Gunter showed up and looked all crazy, and it was like that awesome year, right? And I just remember the crowd used to be so loud.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it was still the 90s crowd, right?
Yeah.
There was still all the people from the, you know.
I think people nowadays are kind of so used to seeing it that maybe they're not as vocal about it, where it was just more exciting back then.
Yeah. And the whole Ronnie and Jay thing, I mean, that was enough.
Yeah.
On its own to just be unbelievable. You didn't even need any good people behind them, even though there was.
Show with just those two.
Yeah, it was something else, and there was just like something in the air, you know.
So there's a question I'm leading to, because you know the whole what's the best era thing is an obvious question, but this is the point I was leading to. Do you think the 90s era bodybuilders, or even 90s to 2006, do you think they're still good ambassadors for bodybuilding?
Yeah, I think aren't they the biggest bodybuilders for biggest representatives still? Isn't that all the old guys that have the big lineups when it comes to bodybuilders? I
gotta disagree with you.
Oh, you gotta disagree? Okay.
Yeah, this is where my sticking point is. I don't.
Well, I might be thinking of it differently than you too. Okay. So I want to make sure we're kind of thinking of what do you mean.
Let me tell you where I'm coming from. You tell me if you agree.
Okay. Right.
When I watch UFC, or I watch NFL, or I watch NBA, and when I watch the analysts in those sports, I feel like they're always promoting the sport in a positive light. They're always promoting the newest guys and how great they are and blah blah blah, and they might throw in a jab here and there, like I could still play with these guys, blah, blah. But for the most part,
that guy couldn't hit with me.
Yeah. For the most part, the analysts from the previous generation are always promoting the sport.
I see where you're going with this. Yeah,
and
yeah.
I think I know what you think I'm going to say. So I feel like the 90s guys, all I hear from them, and don't get me wrong, I have more respect for them than anybody.
I do agree with you on this point.
All I hear from them is these guys are shit. These guys are soft. These guys are this, that, or the other. And I'm like, I don't really feel like they're being genuine because I remember some of those shows, man, and those guys weren't always in shape. Like, I'm not going to name any names, but those guys weren't always in shape, number one. Number two, there wasn't HD cameras back then. Like, if you take your phone and you take a photo and you turn the structure way up on on an Instagram post, you look shredded. You look shredded.
And you can always tell the guy did it because his face is just like his face is looks like granite, you know? Yeah.
But I'm just saying, though, imagine that, though. That's what all those photos are from.
Right.
The other thing I noticed too is when people talk about the 90s, every photo you see posted is from the Olympia. I'm like, well, yeah, everybody's always in the fucking best shape at the Olympia. Post some photos from some of the smaller shows, and you'll see those 90s greats sometimes not at their best. So my point is not to shit on those guys. I think that is an amazing era as well. I probably agree with you that those years from 92 to 2006 are probably the most amazing. But I feel like it's still their job to promote the sport.
That's why I think Jay Cutler's so awesome.
I agree.
Because I totally understand what you're talking about there. I never really thought of that.
Yeah.
I was sort of thinking how I've been to expos. When you asked me the question, the thing that came to my mind was I've been to expos where the longest lines were like Ronnie, Dorian, Jay,
100%.
Dexter. And I'm like, man, like the four oldest dudes here have the lines of the bodybuilding fans.
But
and then the younger bodybuilders.
Yeah. But they're the most iconic. So it makes sense, right? But I know what you mean. You'd expect the newest guy to be the guy with the biggest line. But I have seen Phil's lines. Like, Phil's lines are pretty long too, right? So
they're always good. Yeah.
But
even though people talk shit about Phil and say, "Oh, no one likes Phil," and then I go to an expo and his lines fucking
that's another topic we can get into. Also, I think Phil sounds like he's changed a little bit, but we can talk about that after. I guess all I wanted to get your opinion on was, do you feel like these guys, the important guys, the legends, we're talking about like Shawn Ray and, Dave Palumbo and, Dave Palumbo, I've been on his show many times and they talk about how nobody trains hard anymore. I'm like, Akeem Williams is squatting like 8 plates for reps. Luke Sandow is doing stiff leg deadlifts with 6 plates. Like Ian Valier,
dummies the 200s.
Ian Valier is bench pressing 5 plates like he's warming up. Like,
I've talked about that before. Something about Instagram. I don't know if it's like remember the was it the 3-minute mile or the 4-minute mile? Was that classic time where finally one guy beat it? Then all these other people beat it. It's like Instagram has done that for strength.
I agree.
Because it's like, I remember but like when I was competing, I remember people used to be like, "Fuck, you're strong," because I would stiff leg deadlift 405 and like and do 150 dumbbells on the incline, and everyone would be like, "Fuck, you're fucking strong." And now I see these kids that don't even look like they have any, like these crazy stuff on Instagram, like people dummy in the 150s who don't look like they could bench. I don't even get it. I think it's because all the young guys are on trend really early now. That's why.
No, man. I agree with you. No, I think it's honestly, they see other people do it and they're like, "Oh, it's possible." Yeah, no, I agree with that. But my point is, they talk about how, all the older bodybuilders of Chris Cormier, Dorian Yates. Dorian Yates is notorious for it. Just constantly talk about how there's no work ethic. These guys don't train hard. These guys don't look good. I don't know. Should somebody sit them down and go, "Hey, man, it's your job to keep the sport going because your opinions are trickling down." Like when I see their comments in threads from normal people. So these comments are trickling down into the mainstream. So I think it's important for them to promote the sport.
And do you think part of it is it's just, I think it's just a perception issue. Like, think back to, like, I remember Dorian as Mr. Olympia. I mean, Lee Haney was my first Mr. Olympia. I started training in 1990. So I remember how we didn't see them train. All we heard was stories, right? So like, it just becomes like this mythical, like, it just takes on a power of its own about how hard they trained and all this stuff. And now, you'll see a video and it's an edited video. So maybe it's got, a clip of the guy laughing in it for a second, which we all do. Like, come on, how often do you make fun of Paul in the gym?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we're training fucking hard, but you're still gonna keep your spirits up and come on, fucking, if you don't get 20, you gotta fucking buy dinner, and so we see that in a clip, and maybe to them they're like, oh, they're just having fun in there. I don't know. Maybe it's just kind of a social media perception thing. Cause I mean, I've seen some of the men's physique guys, they get shit on like crazy.
I know.
I've seen some of those guys train and they're training as hard as fucking I ever trained. They're doing rest pause sets and drop sets and, going hard and strong as fuck in some movements.
I feel like the fact that you're bringing your phone in the gym alone is telling the older generation that we're lazy as fuck. But what they don't realize is this is how we make our money, man.
Yeah.
If I don't bring my phone in the gym, I don't get any content because the rest of my day is fucking boring. Really. I'm gonna be honest with you. The rest of my fucking day, I'm laying on the fucking couch. So there's not really much content to get. So if I don't bring my phone to the gym,
I have to admit, I make jokes about phones, but I need to correct how I word it because I don't mean that.
No, I know you.
I mean that the people that are like
texting,
between sets, you look at their phone and they're messaging people.
No. Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
And you're like, fuck. So whenever I make a criticism of phones, like put your phone away. That's what I mean. But I mean, I pull my phone out and change my music, and
I think most people. I think most people know that you don't mean changing the music or taking a picture. It's like, you mean the guy that's sitting there texting his girlfriend for half an hour in between sets.
Yeah, man. I mean, I see people just cruising Instagram and just, complete lack of focus. And they're just, I like to say that I'm not upset that they're on their phone because they're not going to get the gains. I don't care about their gains, but what I would like people to have is the experience of being in the moment at the gym, because it has been the most transformative experience of my entire life. Has been focusing on that task. And I just want other people to know what that's like, where there's no outside world. Like, it does not exist. I don't give a fuck about, I don't even know that there is even the possibility of something happening outside of my bubble. And I'm retired, man. I'm not competing. I'm training for fun, and I'm still like that.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people enjoy it that way, the way we do. And that was another question I wanted to ask you is something changed? Like, why do guys don't want to be fucking huge anymore? Like, when I was coming up, everybody wanted to be fucking huge. Like, oh, that guy's massive. I can't wait to be that. Now I don't hear that anymore. Guys just want to look pretty.
So there's a couple reasons for that. I talked about this with a friend on the weekend. First of all, I mean, there is the factor that people want things quickly. The appeal of that sort of task is a little overwhelming and not as popular. And it's also, social media has changed that. Like, if you're 180 pounds with a full set of abs and you're lean, you look better in a picture than a guy who's 250 off season. So there's that sort of, they're like, well, I just do that all year because I'm already that size.
If you're talking about like the Instagram life, then it's
more appealing. I think the lack of, so I hate to say this, but I think that Dallas McCarver's death affected the entire subculture more than we have realized yet.
Think so?
I think it affected. I know it was only a couple years ago, but I've seen a drop off since then. Like,
I think it's not a direct. I think it's. I think it's anecdotal. I don't think that's I personally don't think that's a direct connection because, man, there was guys dying when I was coming up.
Oh yeah.
Nobody gave
I
a
just
shit.
I just think that one was a little bit more social media.
It was more
people
public.
were like, whoa.
Yeah, people felt more connected to Dallas because of social media.
Yeah.
Probably. I can see
I don't
that.
know. I think we're going to see a ripple effect from it more than maybe we have, but I don't know. Like it was a bad one. It was a bad one for
I could see that because I think when people follow someone for a little while, they start to feel like they're friends with that person. Like I get messages from people all the time, and they kind of are at a certain point. Like I get some of the same people messaging or commenting on my posts. They kind of do become friends, for lack of a better word.
Yep.
So when you feel connected with this person and then that person passes away, yeah, I could see that being pretty traumatic for a lot of people. But even before Dallas, though, I just don't feel when I go to like I promote 2 shows. Mm-hmm. I just don't hear the guys backstage anymore talking about, oh man, what did you do to gain 10 pounds of muscle and how much protein are you eating? And
right.
It's a different conversation nowadays, man.
I'm disappointed. I knew it was going to happen, but I really think that classic physique has cannibalized a lot of the best genetics away from amateur bodybuilding.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
It sucked. It's like vacuumed a bunch of the great frames. Like, cause someone will have a great frame and they'll be like, well, I gotta be, 215 as a heavyweight to maybe get a pro card, but I'm already 190.
Yeah.
And I look great. So if I just go down to 188, I can be classic and we'll see how it goes. Yeah. And so I just think there's a lot of that going on.
Well, it's a simple, there's a very simple example. If you look at Chris Bumstead with 20 more pounds on his frame could be a top 5 at the Olympia. Mm-hmm. Instead, he's probably going to be Mr. Olympia in the classic. So he's like, why would I fucking get any bigger? I'm already the best in this class or close to the best.
I think Bumstead's also too, he's in the situation where he's actually been able to financially capitalize on being in the classic division, which a lot of guys in classic, like the prize money is not as big and like, you know what I mean? So as long as it's endorsement wise there for them, it's a good move. Yeah. If you're living off your contest winnings and maybe you want to go to the open.
Yeah. But I'm talking aside from that because I don't know, maybe back in the day, if there was classic, maybe I would have stayed there if there was money in it, but I don't know. I don't want to keep harping on the point. I just don't hear guys. I don't feel like guys just want to be fucking huge. Guys are just like, they're looking at the money aspect. They're looking at the Instagram aspect. They're looking at spot. They're looking at all these other things, but I don't really just hear anybody go, no, I don't care about all that shit. I just want to be massive.
Well, I know I came up. I mean, who were my wrestlers? Davey Boy Smith, the Ultimate Warrior. Yeah, those were my wrestlers, who were my action heroes? Well, Arnold and, Stallone and guys that were Shred and Van Damme and that whole era. Who are the wrestlers now? They just look like hip hop artists.
I see what you're saying now. Yeah.
And who are their heroes now? Well, The Rock's their hero, but he's not
massive.
Huge.
Compared
he's not massive. He's a giant man, he's a giant man, but it's not the same. So they're just not being fed the same look and they're just not growing up on it. Like I grew up on, how do superheroes look now?
Yeah.
Fuck. I mean, superheroes used to be just jacked beyond, you know what I mean? Like my superheroes were on a lot of trend, and their superheroes are not. They're eating vegan, and it's just a different look. So I think that culture shift is part of it. But hey, I've been around long enough to see bell bottoms come twice, and I saw vanadyl sulfate come twice.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm. Who knows? I mean, the tide could shift.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. I didn't think of the social heroes that are kind of put out there now for little kids to follow. So
like if you want jacked guys, you gotta look at like some of the rappers if you want to see muscle.
Yeah. I want to ask you something a little out the box. Which I want you to tell me actually. Because this is what this podcast is really about. I'm going to get into some Instagram questions, but before I get into that, I want to ask you, what do you think is the most important thing that people don't know about bodybuilding or bodybuilders? What is something that you wish because sometimes I'll be sitting around, I'm like, man, I wish people could see this, because they don't see this thing that I'm doing or feeling. So
I think that bodybuilding has taught me an unbelievable amount of patience and discipline and problem solving skills, staying calm under pressure.
Okay, but let me stop you for a second. Sorry. I'm looking for something more specific. Is there something more specific? You're like, okay, for example, I'll give you an example. Like, a lot of people, if someone's picking shows for the year or whatever it may be, don't understand that part of the way they may pick that show is not just emotional, but this is also their career. Like, I don't think people realize sometimes that these are also our jobs. Like, this is our living. This is how we make money. So it's kind of like I did a podcast about pressure of bodybuilding and some of the pressures that come with, if you lose, you lose guest posing appearances. If you lose, you may lose t-shirt sales. You may lose this. People don't understand those things. People don't even think on that level, because to them, it's not a job. They're a fan, right? So is there something that you've recognized or you've seen in bodybuilding that you can tell people that, you know what, guys, this is something you never think about, that these guys are going through or they're feeling on a daily basis, and you haven't grasped it because we can't show it to you on Instagram?
I think, one that pops into mind is training in pain. The amount of discomfort that we are just absolutely accustomed to.
Yeah.
And, like, there's been things that have been wrong with me where I haven't said, like, I remember one time I was telling my girlfriend about my elbow, and she's like, well, how long has your elbow been bothering you? I'm like, I don't know, like 5 months. She's like, this is the first time you've said a word.
Yeah.
Like, I just suffered in silence for like 5 months, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't think most people understand that. They see us in the gym and they just think we're just going to the gym and just working out. But like every single day, like especially when I was, competing and, training where I couldn't, be flexible on anything. Like, I was always kind of hurt the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Always kind of hurt.
It's funny you said that, because that's actually a really good one, because someone just said to me the other day, hey man, like, how come you're always hurt and nobody else is? I'm like, dude, they're all hurt. I'm just the only one.
Or you just had some bad ones that had to be kind of addressed.
No, but like, everybody's fucking got a tear.
Yeah.
Listen, I've had one tear that required surgery. 2 that were pretty bad that I couldn't have surgery on, and one that didn't need surgery and whatever, but it was still kind of bad. But everybody has had first or second degree tears.
I've had 20.
Yeah,
I mean, 20. Big bruises, big fucking purple spots.
Yeah,
like 20 of those, more easily at least.
So, and that's what I told this person is, dude, we all go through the shit. I'm just the only one, or one of the few ones.
Yeah.
That makes it public, and that's because I'm trying to do what you're doing now, which is let people know, like, this fucking shit's not easy. Because if like you said, if you're not tearing something, you're dealing with inflammation, sore knees, sore elbows.
Yeah, something's starting to bug you, and you're worried about, I don't want to let this get worse.
Yeah.
You go to do an arm workout one day, and fucking forearm has a sharp pain in it, and you're like, well, what the fuck's this?
Yeah.
I gotta.
Or even on a food level, you could be like, fuck, I'm not digesting my egg whites all of a sudden. Like, you have an egg white allergy that just fucking popped up out of nowhere, and you got to like restart.
Man,
what?
That's so true. Like, you're just cruising along, and then all of a sudden it's like digestive problems.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the fuck is causing this?
You're like, I didn't change anything.
And other people just eat whatever they want and shit whenever they want, and they don't even think about it.
Yeah.
It doesn't even occur to them.
Yeah.
Because they're not in touch with their digestion at all. And then like, I know exactly what you mean.
Well, it's just
food sensitive all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's just one of those other things that people don't understand that we go through. Like, well, why isn't that guy eating enough? I'm like, well, maybe his body became fucking oatmeal resistant halfway through his off season, and he just had to reset. Like, sometimes you just have to reset. Like, so yeah, that's a good one. I never thought to explain. I mean, I explain to people when I tear things, but I don't think people realize that we're always kind of going through something.
Yeah,
So
always something wrong.
the mental side of it is, to me, the toughest. I can fucking go through any pain, but the mental side of it, because there's days, and it's like you said, you get yourself in a routine where it doesn't matter if you're upset or not, but there's days where I'm like, fuck this, just fuck it. I don't want to, just fuck it. I'm going to go sell cars. So I think we all go through our own issues.
It's a lot.
Let me, I'm going to go on Instagram right now because I wanted to get a few questions from people.
Okay, cool.
I don't have a lot here, so let's see what we got. You know what? You had 2 patella tendon tears, didn't you?
No, I had 1 quad tendon tear.
1 quad tendon tear.
I blew my quad tendon off the top of my knee, right?
And you had surgery for that?
Yeah, I had to have it reattached. It was 100% rupture.
So someone just asked me, I'm gonna read you this question, and it's gonna apply to you as well. So I want you to answer. Yeah. How was your recovery, and have you had any mental put downs since, and what have you done to get over them? So basically, I want to know, your recovery is fine now. I see you squatting or leg pressing tons of weight and everything, but during your recovery, how many times were you like just in the shits, like you just didn't think you were going to get past it?
Yeah, so it was I remember there was a couple times like early on, after the surgery, where I was on the crutches and stuff, and the leg was just swollen and just looked disgusting and hurt like fucking crazy. Yeah. And I remember there's a couple times where, like, I remember I was in the shower one day on my crutches, and I just lost it. I was like, oh fuck, I just fucking lost it. I just broke. It was like the most broken I've ever been. Because when I actually tore it, I was like sort of normal. I was like, well, okay, well, everyone's got a tear. Let's do this, and it didn't really set in. And like my girlfriend kept my spirits up for 3 days while I waited for surgery. And then I went in for surgery, and I went in like fucking And I remember the assistant, the surgical assistant, he's like the intern or whatever. Yeah. They're wheeling me into surgery, and I'm fucking like this. I got a smile on my face, and I'm cracking jokes, I'm like, come on, doc, I got a squat session. Let's do this. Like I'm being funny. Yeah. And he looks at me and he goes, I have never seen anyone go into surgery with this attitude. Like
pumped. Yeah.
Like pumped. And I go, do you know how fucking happy I am to be here? Yeah. Every day that goes by, my leg gets harder to heal. Yeah. I go, I'm so fucking happy my phone rang this morning. I go, and as soon as I wake up from this, I start the clock. Yeah. So I had this, like, I thought I had it because I'm like, fuck, I got this, right? Yeah. And then, like, I think it was like, a week after surgery, I'm in the shower and I just fucking shattered. Yeah. Like, I completely collapsed in on myself mentally. It was like I finally realized, I'm like, this is going to be a long process. Like, you know what I mean? And you may never be the same, but you got to fucking, it's going to take everything you have again. Yeah. It's like everything else you ever tried to do is taking everything. So nothing's ever been easy.
So how did you get past? Because I had that same moment, but how did you, and it's funny, I went through the exact same. I remember laughing before they put the anesthesia on my face. Like, I was totally like, I'm going to fucking crush this. I'm going to be back on stage by August. Right. But I had the same moment. It was like same thing. Like a week later, I'm like, fuck, man, I can't train chest. I can't fucking do anything. But how did you get through it? What happened to get you like past it?
Well, I mean, having certain, like my girlfriend is just amazing. She's just like, this is going to happen again. Like you're not Superman. Yeah. You just got to do your best. You're going to have some bad days. I'm here for you. I mean, obviously having certain people in your life is key to anything. But it goes back to what bodybuilding had already taught me, which was just patience. Yeah. Like, I remember, I'd sleep with my leg really elevated because it was just so swollen, Yeah. And then when I, every course, I wake up in the middle of the night and have to piss. And I have to take my crutch, hook my leg, lower it down on the floor, kind of crawl out of bed backwards, stand up on my crutches. And then when you get up on your crutches, the fluid rushes down and your leg feels like it swells.
Yeah, yeah.
And the pain just rockets up your body and out of your head like lightning.
Oh,
and I'd stand there for 30 seconds just enduring this fucking agony, and then it would fade off, and then I'd crutch in and take a piss, come back to bed. And I remember thinking every time I did that, I was like, only a couple hundred more of these. Only a couple hundred more of these.
It's like a rep.
Yeah, just got to do the reps.
That's
just
got to
do the reps. I'll just do the reps. One day I'm going to get up, it's going to hurt less. And then the next day it'll hurt less. And I just have to fucking outlast these fucking trips to the bathroom.
Yeah.
You know?
I can't imagine. The leg is probably way worse than the elbow. So I'm not going to
Gravity's a bitch.
Yeah, I'm not going to pretend to imagine I went through the same thing. Like, I had a moment of shittiness because I was like, I can't train, but I don't think I've been eating a lot of edibles, so it's probably why I have no pain. But I don't. No, I didn't. Honestly, dude, I didn't even use the perks. They gave me a fucking bottle of perks like this fucking big.
Yep, zero opiates.
I think I took a half twice the first day, and after that it's all been edibles. And it's only to get to bed, really. I don't like do it during the day.
Yeah.
Anyway, the point is, I don't think I could endure I haven't had to endure that kind of fucking pain. For me, it's just the weight is what's killing me.
Well, that's still the worst part.
Yeah.
If they asked you, do you, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, we're used to like willing our shit to work.
Yeah.
Like if you like, our brains work like this. If you can't lose any weight, do more cardio. If you can't, if you did more cardio and you can't lose any weight, eat less fucking food. It's like, if you're not strong, put more weight on the bar and keep trying. Like, that's how our brains work. So this is like, hey, there's nothing you can fucking do. Just wait.
Yeah.
It's like, it's
just
the
wait.
Worst. Yeah. It's the worst thing to do to me because I'm used to having a solution.
You're used to having a gas pedal you can push on.
Yeah. Something that can make it better. Yeah. Yeah.
And all you can do right now is just move that arm, click, 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 move that arm, click, 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 move that arm. So.
All right, let me get another couple questions here. I'll let you go. I don't want to keep you forever. Actually, you know what? You're a coach. You train a lot of clients, and your guys are always shredded. So this is a good one for you. This guy asks, is cardio really necessary to burn the unnecessary fat, or lowering the carbs will do the work? So this is like the age-old question, because I've had this question a lot of times too, and I know what I think, but I want your opinion. Is it more cardio or less food? Which is better for a bodybuilder?
So I've tried everything. And I sort of feel like I do the best, and most of the people I help do the best when there's both. I think cardio is almost necessary for most people. I've had some clients get, striated glutes with no cardio at all, but they're just like metabolically different than most people.
Let's talk about the average person, because that's kind of rare.
With average person, I would say, I try to keep cardio under an hour, and I try to lower food beyond that. I don't really like 2-hour cardio daily and all that. I would rather the person train more than they do cardio. So, I'm sort of the type of guy that tends to start with 20 minutes 5 times a week, do most of the work with the carbs. Cardio goes up a bit when the carbs start to get a little low, maybe more cardio instead of dropping more food. Yeah. Also depends on the feedback from the person. Some people were like, I'm not hungry. If you're not hungry, we can cut some carbs, Yeah. If they're like, I'm fucking starving to death. It's like, well, let's just add 10 minutes of cardio then.
Yeah.
It's hard. Yeah.
So you're not in the all cardio camp or all starving camp. You're like,
no. I think they're both tools, and there's limits to both. I think massive amounts of cardio is definitely counterproductive for most people. It just depends, but I tend to use both. I tend to try to balance them out. I don't know where you sit on this.
Well, I think I always like more food and more cardio. That being said, I try and max it at 2 45-minute sessions.
Yeah, so I have a couple guys doing 2 45.
So I won't. Yeah, and it's not everybody, but I won't put somebody through more than an hour and a half of cardio. If it gets to that point, I feel like something's not right with their diet. But
yeah,
I kind of like the muscle to be saturated, for lack of a better word. I don't want somebody fucking starving. I would rather them be eating and doing more work in the gym.
Right.
So
right. I also tell people to add volume sometimes.
Yeah, to their workouts.
Yeah.
Well, that's the other thing too. I think depending on how someone, it's tricky, right? Because people, when you do online stuff like you do as well, it's tricky because someone's like, I did an hour of cardio and I did an hour in the gym. But then what I've done recently is actually start getting clients to send me training footage.
Oh, I do that all the time.
I never did that up until last year. I'm like, send me a video of your squat. And then I'll see their form is off, their aggression is off, like they're not really pushing, they're stopping like way short of failure. And then I can see now, okay, well, you're going to burn more calories if you're more aggressive, if you're going closer to failure, if your rest time is shorter, all those things, right?
Yeah,
So
definitely.
I noticed that's like it's a really tricky part of online coaching is gauging their work ethic in the gym, not the cardio.
Yeah, I usually tell like when someone signs on with me, I'm like, okay, first week, I want you to send me your main working set for as many exercises as you can.
Really?
And I just want to see if they're going hard, you know, and like you said, you know, I call them 8, 9, 10ers. You know, a lot of people are 8, 9, 10ers, 8, 9, 10, you know, and then they're happy to stop, you know? So I'm like, don't be an 8, 9, 10er, you know what I mean? Yeah. So, my boyfriend just went home. There we go. So yeah, you know, I say, man, you gotta crank this up a little bit. Like, you know, you should be using 15 pounds more on dumbbells or something like that, you know? Yeah. So you really step in on that. It helps.
How can somebody get a hold of you if they want online coaching?
You can email me at bigronpartlow@gmail.com.
Okay.
Or they can hit me up on Instagram at rep300. I'm taking clients. I'm always looking for people to work with. You know, I don't take everyone that contacts me. I try to be honest if I don't think I'm the right person for the job. You know, some people have expectations that, you know, maybe I just don't think they're realistic or whatever.
Yeah.
But, you know, and I like to help really serious people. I think there's a misconception that I only work with like super heavyweight bodybuilders because I'm always like talking like that, you know.
I get that too. Yeah.
You know, you're fucking, if you train with Ron, you know, fucking, you know, he's going to make you puke every day. And it's not like that.
Like me, like, man, I sometimes I want to help. Like sometimes I'll see like a heavier guy in the gym and I'm like, man, I bet you that guy would work his ass off. I would train that guy for free if he would just bust his fucking ass. So it's like, I don't know. I think I get the impression that you're more like me. Like I'll work with anybody as long as they're willing to like.
And like probably most of the most satisfying clients I've ever had were just regular Joes that wanted to do one show.
Yeah.
And they do that one crazy prep and they just like, you look at the pictures and you're just like, what the fuck?
But that person probably doesn't have another one in them. They're like fucking
right. Well, yeah, it's a lot of times it's their wife's letting them do one show or something, right?
Yeah.
But those guys can be awesome clients, you know. I've had some
100%.
amazing people. Yeah.
100%. So okay, I know your girl's home. Let me get a couple others if there's a couple good questions.
Oh yeah, fire away.
Okay. Please discuss how to mentally overcome the challenges of contest prep in the last few weeks. I feel like there's that one, and there's one other question I want to ask you. So let's touch on that one because I feel like a lot of people suffer with that last 10 pounds and getting an actually like shredded look.
So there's a few things that I used to say to myself all the time, and it's like one is just a classic: one day at a time.
Yeah.
Like, don't focus on huge spans of time when you know, those last few weeks when you're just dying. Just one day at a time. Yeah. All you have to do is just today. Just do that. Just do today. That's it. Yeah. You know, even as like working with Aceto, I remember he even used to say one meal at a time. Like just
it's true.
One meal at a time. Like, don't think big. Just fucking focus on the task. And that's the thing most people have a hard time with is just focus. You know, I remember getting ready for the Canadas one year. And I was living with my best friend and I was doing my 30 minutes cardio at night and there was a park by our house. So I just used to walk around the park 3 times.
Yeah.
It was like, you know, real nice. And I remember sitting on the bench by the front door with my headphones on for like a half an hour.
Yeah.
Just trying to get the energy to go out the front door and down the stairs and do the 3 laps around the park. And I remember my roommate like came home from work, showered, came back out of his bedroom. He's like, "You're still here?" And I'm like, I'm just trying to get out the door, man.
Yeah.
And then I just finally like I listened to like half an album.
Yeah.
And then finally like got out the door. And that sometimes is the do like if you want to be as good as you can be, it's you're gonna have like those types of battles.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you 100%. It is one day at a time, because I specifically remember even just this last prep, I remember going to bed some nights and thinking, all right, I got through another day. I literally would think, like, as I was putting my head down on the pillow going, okay, I just got to make sure I sleep enough, because sleep is a bitch for me anyway. So I'm like, hey, I just pray I get 3 or 4 hours sleep and I get to get up and have my breakfast. I'm like, that's all. Yeah. Like, I made it through another one, you know?
Another one I used to think of all the time was, I think a lot of people have trouble with progress because, you know, when they first start the diet, the weight kind of falls off.
Yeah.
And then, you know, near the end, it becomes a grind, right?
Yeah.
And I sort of think in my head, you know, like, you know, when you're like fighting the boss on a video game, you know, when you're young, you're playing like, you know, you get the boss's power meter down. And then of course, like as you're beating him down, then the computer gets harder. Like, you know, he starts doing all this killer stuff at the end, but you just got to keep fucking hitting your buttons as fast as you fucking can. And just believe that bar is going to close right out to nothing. And you just have to think about the, you know, the fat on your glutes and that's what you're doing. It's like, I know it seems like it's not moving, but you just got to keep pushing your buttons and just don't stop, and it'll come off.
I think
you just got to believe.
I think because people are seeing themselves every day too, when those increments are so small, they can't see them properly, especially because you're a little fucked up from the diet, right? And then you've been dieting for so long, and you look at yourself in the mirror so long in the same light, the same day, every fucking day, it starts to just look the same. And you're like, am I making any progress? And then it starts to get hard, because if you don't feel like you're making progress, you're not going to try as hard. So yeah, I totally agree with you. It's I remember, just to relate to your story, I remember one year, one of my coaches, and I won't mention any names, but one of my coaches put me on a lot of letrozole. For those of you who don't know, letrozole is an anti-estrogen, and with no estrogen in your body, it's hard to do anything.
It's like the strongest one. The most powerful one. Like, it'll zero you out.
Man, it fucking sucked. And I never did it again after that. But I remember sitting on the couch and I had to take a piss. And I was like, I had to argue with myself to get up and take a piss. I wasn't going to piss my pants, but
you had a bottle there.
I swear to God, I sat there for what had to be 15 to 20 minutes going, just get up and piss, man. I'm like, you know, you could feel it. I'm like, just get up. Just get up. And this went on. Yeah. This went on for 10 or 15 minutes. And I'm like, okay, finally I got up, and I'm like, but that was a daily occurrence for like the last 2.5 weeks. Yeah. I'm like, this is fucking horrible. But, you know, sometimes that's what it takes. So
yeah, I know. It's crazy.
I feel like it's good to tell these stories, because I think a lot of people don't realize how hard it can be sometimes. So listen, the last one I want to ask you is a very simple one. Does the current Mr. O have a chance to retain the title?
Well, yeah, he does. It's going to be very difficult.
I think what he means is, well, let me finish the whole question.
Oh, okay.
Because I didn't feel like the second part of it was relevant, but let me ask the whole question. Does the current Mr. O have a chance to retain the title looking so small?
Well, I mean, the answer to that is it only matters how he looks the day of the show. You know what I mean? I mean, he won it at that size. I mean, what is Roden weigh?
Actually, let me change this a little bit and ask you, what did you think about his guest posing and how it was received?
Oh, well, I mean, it was received exactly the way I thought it would be received.
How did you feel about it, and what would you say about that guest posing?
I would have tried not to do it.
Yeah.
Maybe he just felt super obligated. I don't think it's the worst I've ever seen. Jesus, I've seen pictures from some of the other guys and some of the pictures from the 90s, guys guest posing like tremendously out of shape at like massive body weights. Like, you know, I remember a picture of Nasser that was like fucking unreal bad.
But I think that's the problem, is those guys were out of shape, but they were like 300 fucking pounds.
Right. He was small and out of shape.
So I think people are like, well, he's small and he's out of shape. He's not like, you know what I mean?
I mean, it is what it is. Like, I would never wanted to be on stage looking like that.
No.
But maybe he felt like really overly obligated. I don't know. Maybe he just didn't care. Maybe he was like thinking, fuck, they'll see me look like this, and then I'll show up at the show and blow their doors off. Like, maybe he's one of those guys, doesn't give a shit. You know, I can't speak for him. I mean, but again, it doesn't matter how he looks at that show. If you're just talking about the Olympia, it matters how he looks at the Olympia. And
but you think it's so you think it's okay what happened, or no?
Was it okay for him to guest pose like that?
Yeah.
I definitely wouldn't have done it if I was Mr. Olympia.
Yeah.
I thought that it you know, made people, you know, be like, oh, I mean,
you're
Mr. Olympia. You're supposed to look a certain way all year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you have a bad day like that, a bad month or whatever, you try not to book anything. I mean, that's right. You know, it's your brand. I mean, you know, you wouldn't guest pose in that shape.
I have, not on purpose.
But it's okay. It's okay. It was before Instagram, so no one was watching.
I was never Mr.
Right.
Olympia. I don't know. I guess
my
feeling is the same as yours. If I look like, if I was out of shape, or, you know, I know Shawn for a long time. This is Shawn. He just doesn't, this is how he is in the off season. Yeah. But my feeling is the same as yours. If I know that about myself, I'm just going to be like, look, let me hand out a trophy. Let me say a couple words and keep a suit on or something. My problem was with like Bob Ciccarello going on and just tearing him a new one. Like, I don't know if you saw his interview, but
no, I didn't. I heard about it.
I just felt like it's not called for. Like, especially Bob's supposed to be the athlete's rep. You should have.
I didn't think it was as big of a deal as everyone made it out to be. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was like, okay, he's really out of shape. I wouldn't have liked it. I wouldn't have done that. But the sort of the flack, I was like, well, you know, it still doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
It matters how he looks at the Olympia.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I sort of thought people made a bigger deal about it than I thought.
I just felt like, I'm like, Bob Ciccarello, you're the fucking athlete rep. You're the guy that's supposed to be defending him. And I heard him shit on him the worst. And then I think Shawn Ray was almost just as bad. And I'm like, guys, like, you can say something constructive without being like completely shitty about it.
Yeah, you could just specify, like, let's say you're commentating on that or something.
Oh, it's
you just said, you know, Roden, obviously Roden hasn't been competing like these other guys because, you got, Brandon there fresh off the Arnold. And I mean, fuck, imagine standing next to him, he's all blown, you know what I mean? So, so, I mean, you could just explain that and just keep the kind of bashing out of it.
But no, even like you just said, like, I wouldn't have done it. He probably should have kept his clothes on or whatever, but they were just off the fucking chain. Like, no mercy. Just
right.
It's not called for, man. Like, that goes back to our earlier conversation about being ambassadors of the sport. Like,
well, then what happens? What do you say to Roden when you get in an elevator with him? Oh, hey, how's it going?
Yeah. Or what do you do when he wins the fucking Olympia now? Are you still going to shake his hand and congratulate him and you're going to feel stupid? Like,
yeah.
I mean, you could just be like you said, you're the Mr. Olympia. You should carry yourself with a different standard, or don't guest pose. That's all you had to say. But to carry on for like a 15-minute interview about how shitty this person is, just a fucking not called for, man.
Yeah. And I'm also like, it's done, it's done, whatever. And then he just guest posed the other night and he looked better.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like 2 weeks later because he's, he's on the prep, boom, here we go.
Yeah. Okay, Ron, I've been with you for an hour now. I don't want to, I'm not Joe Rogan. I don't want to keep you for 4 hours.
We're not going to smoke bongs and talk about, okay. I'm
going to do that. I'm going to start sending my guests their own bong so we can smoke together.
Right.
I appreciate you having a conversation. Is there anything you want to say or promote before I let you go?
Yeah, I just want to, want to thank Mutant for a lot of you guys don't know. I actually quit my job at Mutant. I was working at Mutant full time for 5 years. I was actually a marketing specialist there, and that was awesome because it helped me transition out of competing and sort of like I got to learn. I got like a degree in the supplement industry working there. Man, everything from marketing to manufacturing to formulating to sales. I learned a ton working at Mutant. But with the gym going as well as it is, and the fact that I kind of wanted to get back into online training and helping people and working with competitors and, recreational bodybuilders, and I just love that stuff. So I decided to leave my job at Mutant. So I no longer work there, and I went back onto an endorsement contract.
With who?
So with Mutant.
Oh,
so I'm still, yeah.
But now
so I basically, that would have to be good. So the joke was I went into my boss's office and I said, I'm going to stop coming, but you're still going to keep paying me.
That's a great deal for you.
So so it's been really good. So I'm back on an endorsement contract. So I'm still wearing the biohazard, and I still get to shoot Mutant on a mission and travel around and go to the expos. And I'm very thankful that the company believes in me and keeps me around. I sort of think I'm a, weathered, washed up old bodybuilder, but talking about the old days,
of course.
But it's fun. And I love bodybuilding as much as I ever have. And, I want to help promote the sport. I want to help competitors get a good experience. I see some of the nightmare preps and the nightmare cycles and the nightmare bullshit and the complicated diets with fucking, Jesus, some of the complicated shit I see. I don't know how people fucking pull it off. And I think it's just overly branding their shit so their clients think that they have this secret.
Yeah,
it's like, well, at 11:23 p.m. you must take this. And it's like, oh, dude, man, fuck, what a life to live.
It's not that difficult. Yeah.
No, it's not about any of that. It's so I really want to, everyone I work with, I want to make sure that they leave the process, having learned a lot about what really matters. And that's what I like to show guys. And what really matters, Fouad, fucking having some balls in the gym and having the discipline on the diet. I mean, the perfect training program is something that people spend way too much time worrying about. The perfect training program is a decent program executed with really high intensity and effort.
Yeah.
And I think that's where all the results lie, Obviously, I love science. I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying, like, people fuss too much about, micro details and when they're not even training hard enough to get the macro gains.
Yeah.
So
can I touch on that real quick, just because I want people to know that it even happens at our level?
Yeah, go ahead.
In my older age, I have actually tried every diet you could think, almost every diet you could think of, especially in the last like 3 or 4 years. It's just consistency. I know that's it's really cliche, but honestly, man, I could do Jay Cutler's diet or I could do John Meadows' diet, and I could probably look great from either one if I just nailed everything every day.
Yep. It's huge. So, you can adjust from there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I guess if I wanted to pump anything else, obviously I'm looking for, I'm training clients. So there's that. I want to thank Mutant. And then West Coast Iron. It's, a dream come true. I got some great partners. The gym's just incredible. I really want to get you out here to Vancouver to train at my gym. I mean, fuck, you throw a seminar up or something. People love to hear your view of things. And if you ever come to the Van Pro, either as a competitor or a guest, obviously we're the official gym of the Vancouver Pro because we're about 8 minutes from the venue.
Oh, okay.
And so it's great location for us to have the Van Pro so close. And we got hammered last year with it. I mean, all the boys were in there. Antoine was in there filming everything. And Bumstead was in there training every day. And, Valaire came for his last workout and all the guys came and trained and signed the wall and, social media, the fuck out of the place. And
that's awesome.
We let everyone train for free that weekend. So the Vancouver Pro is open house. Everyone come down and train and rub elbows with whoever shows up. You never know who's coming. Yeah. So it was a lot of fun, man. Okay, man. Thank you very much.
I appreciate you coming on, Ron, and we'll do it again.
Yeah, I want to say one more thing before I go.
Yeah.
People ask me who are your favorite bodybuilders in the game right now, and I always say your name.
Don't say that.
No, it's true. And I remember when we first met, when you had the blonde hair, and
don't tell them that. Don't tell them
2003, right?
Yeah.
Was it 2003 Saskatoon? I think you did
my first national.
You got like top 5 in the heavyweights or something. What were you?
Fifth in the heavyweight. Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember seeing you backstage, and you told me how long you were training, and you really only just started a few years before that.
It was only 3 years before. Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember thinking, oh, like, because I've got an eye for it, man. I could see it coming.
Yeah.
And I remember you said you've been training like 3 years or something, and I was like, oh, okay, this guy's gonna turn pro. Like he's gonna come at such a rate that other people are gonna get dusted. And then of course the next year you won like your class, I think.
Yeah, I won the heavyweight class. Yeah. I won the heavyweight class next year.
Yeah, I like to think I saw it coming before other people. So
I appreciate that, Ron. It's an awesome compliment coming from you, man.
Yeah, you bet, man. You bet. The hair was good too, by the way. If you ever want to do that again.
For those of you who don't know, I dyed it blonde for 1 year because I thought I wanted to get noticed. And those young guys out there, don't try and get noticed like that. It's not cool. Anyway,
okay, cool, man. Thanks.
I appreciate it, brother. We'll talk soon. Okay.